Good evening and welcome to the October 25th edition of Office Hours presented by the Maryland Center for Collegiate Financial Wellness. My name is Dr. Tisa Silver Kennedy, and I'm the founder and executive director of the center, also known as McPhew. Tonight, we have a lot of questions come in, some about PSLF, but many about Parent Plus loans. So we have lots of information for you this evening. And if you'll bear with me for just one moment, I'm going to share my screen so that I can tell you a little bit about office hours in the center and then dive into the questions that have been submitted from our community. Okay, so office hours is presented again by the Maryland Center for Collegiate Financial Wellness. We are a 2-year-old nonprofit organization that is helping Marylanders build their financial life skills and empowering students to thrive. Our vision for the center is that all college and career school students in the state of Maryland have the opportunity to achieve these 6 pillars of collegiate financial wellness. Those are being creditworthy, ready, resilient, empowered, successful, and thriving. If you'd like to learn more about the center, you can visit us online at mccfw.org to learn more about our mission, our vision, and our programming. All right, now let's get into office hours. Office hours is our free semi-monthly virtual student loan clinic that provides borrowers with a trusted venue to help them navigate student loans and prepare for financial success beyond repayment. Before I get into the questions that have come from the community, I always have to put it out there that we have a disclaimer. Office hours is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as personalized financial or legal advice. We do our best to give you the most up-to-date information from the Department of Education and the news, but ultimately there are lots of factors that go into making an informed decision, and that includes taking an inventory of your loans, your household finances, and other characteristics before you make any decisions. So keeping that in mind, let's get into this evening's office hours. First, I'd like to share some updates. The IDR cancellation through the adjustment is moving forward as planned. And we also have a few PSLF victories, a couple that have been shared with us from the state of Maryland. One was for $39,000. Another one is for $71,000. And I was so excited to hear from the former borrowers who have now been approved for PSLF, meaning that all of their debt has been wiped out in exchange for their commitment to career and public service. These victories bring our tally to more than $10.5 million. And if you are watching tonight's broadcast and you have benefited from the information, or if you have a PSLF victory to celebrate, whether that's full cancellation or if you've never applied before and you've gone from zero qualifying payments to 50 or whatever the number is, we would love to hear from you so that we can make sure that we celebrate when the time comes, but also stay in touch with you to make sure that you're progressing toward that victory and staying on track. All right. In terms of events, we had a great event today as part of Maryland Supplemental Retirement Plans Annual Savings Symposium. We hosted a webinar on public service loan forgiveness and the IDR adjustment. There were more than 200 state employees tuned in for that webinar. So really glad to have visited with MSRP again. This is our second year presenting at their symposium and making sure that Maryland employees or employees of the state of Maryland are aware of public service loan forgiveness and getting those applications in so that they can access their benefits. Also, next week, the Delaware, DC, Maryland Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators is hosting their annual fall conference, and this will be in Dulles, Virginia. This is also the association known as Tri-State. I've been very active with Tri-State in the past, and I'm happy to be presenting there on loan repayment and letting area financial aid professionals know what's going on with PSLF, and also making sure that as they give information to students, they can also use that information for their own benefit if they happen to be student loan borrowers. And for our last update before we get into the questions, I'm so happy to share that we have movement on my application for public service loan forgiveness. So this is actually day 40. I checked the status of my account yesterday and then went back and checked today, and I saw different things. So when I checked yesterday, the account, I'm talking about my account on studentaid.gov, it said that Nelnet was my servicer, and it said that the due date was NA. So I figured, well, my loans are probably moving from Nelnet to MOHELA because I applied for PSLF, but I didn't have any confirmation. So something told me log in and check before office hours again tonight just to see if anything has changed. And as of today, my servicer has changed from Nelnet to MOHELA. Now, I have not received any official correspondence from Nelnet or MOHELA as of yet. So that means I also do not have a payment count. So officially, the loans are on record with MOHELA now. I'm certain that I'll hear about that soon, so that I can get an update on my payment count. But I just wanted to show you from studentaid.gov, you can look at each of your loans and you can see if there is a PSLF cumulative match months there. That is the equivalent of the qualifying payments that you would see if you were looking into MOHELA's portal online. So for right now, mine says not applicable. I don't have a payment count yet, but there is movement because the loans have shifted away from Nelnet and over to MOHELA. So day 40, loans have finally moved, and I will definitely keep you all posted on the progress of my application in every edition of Office Hours. All right, so let's get into the questions from our community. The first one has to do with public service loan forgiveness. And the question is, I applied for PSLF back in March. I haven't heard anything yet. What should I do? So this person is waiting for a status update on their application for PSLF. So I actually went to this person. This was um, a client who's associated with our No More, O Less project for Prince George's County and Baltimore City educators. I actually went to the school to meet with a few educators. And for this person, our first step was to log on to MOHELA because we wanted to take a look at the account and find out two things. One, is there a qualifying payment count? And two, what is the status of the forms that have already been submitted? So in step one, we went to mohela.com. Once you log in, when you look at the navigation bar, you want to click on PSLF and there's a drop down menu. And what we wanted to find was a payment tracker. But unfortunately for this person, the payment tracker wasn't even an option yet. So that lets us know that there is no qualifying payment count on file, because if there was one, we would be able to view it through the payment tracker. But if you're going to mohela.com, I just want you to know, what to do. So if the payment tracker is available, you definitely want to click on payment tracker and view your payment count. Then if you want to look at the month by month breakdown, you can click show payment summary and you can look month by month to see which months were eligible for PSLF and then which eligible months have converted over to qualifying. And remember, the only difference between an eligible month and a qualifying month is that to be eligible, that just means you are in a repayment status that qualifies for PSLF. For the payment to actually convert from eligible to qualifying, that means your employment has been documented for that period. So in this case, we weren't allowed to see the payment tracker, so we couldn't even look at the payment summary. And since we could not see the payment tracker, the next best thing was to go to form status. When we went to form status, we saw 3 forms that were on file. All of them had been labeled as duplicates. So this person had submitted the application more than once. And many times you'll hear from MOHELA and the Department of Education that if you submit duplicate forms, that adds on to your processing time. I totally get it, but my personal opinion is that 7 months is ridiculous. A normal application takes about 3 months, maybe 4 months to get reviewed, and duplicates definitely can cause, some added processing time. But we're now at 7 months. So for this person, I recommended that they follow another step, and that was to go into studentaid.gov and complete a new PSLF application. Because at this point, the duplicates are 7 months old. That means that since this person is still employed with the public school system, they have gained another 7 months of credit and they just needed to be verified. This also happens to be a person who has more than 120 months of repayment history and employment history. So once this application is evaluated, this person should be approved for PSLF on the spot. Those 7 additional months can only help. So we had the borrower log into studentaid.gov, made sure that they filled out the PSLF application, this time using the DocuSign version. So processing, I'm hopeful that processing will be faster. And within that application, since the person has more than 120 months of history, they were asked, do you want to put your loans into a forbearance while your application is evaluated? And they decided not to, because we don't want to have a situation where The qualifying payment count comes out to be 118, and they put the loans into forbearance while the application was being evaluated. And then after that, they'd have to leave the forbearance, go back into repayment for the next 2 months, and send in yet another PSLF application. We're hoping that this final one truly is the final application. So they went into studentaid.gov, very quickly completed a new PSLF application, and that has been sent off to their employer for verification. So I will definitely keep you all posted on what happens with this particular borrower. I will also say there are a lot of people who are in this situation where they didn't trust that their first application went through, so they sent another one. And there are other people who only sent in one application but have still been waiting for 7 or 8 months. So if it's been quite some time since you submitted a PSLF application and you haven't seen any movement, I see nothing wrong with submitting a brand new one, because at least that way, that gives them a fresh form to act upon, and hopefully they will act quickly. All right. Next question. This has to do with PSLF and the IDR adjustment. The question is, I'm about to consolidate for the IDR adjustment and maybe pursue PSLF. I have one Perkins loan. Should I include it in the consolidation application? So Perkins loans are special. I'll say that for a few reasons. And many people decide that they want to leave Perkins loans outside of a consolidation loan to hold on to some of those characteristics that make it special. They have a fixed interest rate of 5%. They have a 9-month grace period, and they also have cancellation benefits. And at the heart of this question is it worth leaving the Perkins loans separate so that they can be canceled through their own program, or combining the Perkins loans with other loans so that all loans can be on the same clock and then be canceled either by way of income-driven repayment or public service loan forgiveness? So let's take a look at the options. The first option was to consolidate all loans. If that happens, then all loans will be placed on the same repayment clock for both income-driven repayment and for public service loan forgiveness. But if all those loans are consolidated, the Perkins loan cancellation benefits will be lost. The other thing we could do is consolidate all the loans except for the Perkins loan. That means that every other loan would get on track for both income-driven repayment and public service loan forgiveness. Leaving the Perkins loans out means that we would really be confident the cancellation on that Perkins track is happening. But if the Perkins cancellation is not an option, this person could still consolidate again in the future to get that Perkins loan included with the rest of the loans that have been previously consolidated. At the heart of this is whether or not this person has a viable case to get those Perkins loans canceled. Cancellation of Perkins loans has to do with your career. And there are lots of professions that qualify. Some of them have a time frame attached to them, but if you go to studentaid.gov and look up Perkins loans cancellation, you can find the different careers that qualify, like firefighters, teachers in low-income schools. I believe medical technicians are on the list as well. But all of that information is listed at studentaid.gov. And if you want to complete an application, you should reach out to the school you were attending when you borrowed the Perkins loan. So the recommendation for this borrower was, because we were in the midst of a consolidation application, we decided to save that application and put it on hold. The borrower is going to contact their school for information about the Perkins loan application. They're also going to go back to their resume to verify the years of service and the eligibility of the schools that they taught for. And after we have those answers, we'll complete the consolidation application. So ultimately, consolidation is happening for this borrower because they want to get on track for both IDR and PSLF. It's just that if there's a faster way to get the Perkins loans canceled, we want to make sure that we have truly answered that question before we lump the Perkins loan into consolidation with everything else. The other thing about Perkins loans is that they're discontinued. So if you have Perkins loans in your portfolio, that means that they should have a decent amount of history. And in this borrower's case, the Perkins loan actually had the oldest disbursement date. So if Perkins cancellation is not an option on its own, this person would benefit by consolidating the Perkins loan with everything else, because the history of that old loan can then be applied to the rest of the loans in the portfolio once they're all consolidated. So definitely stay tuned. I will keep you posted on what happens with this borrower and their efforts for Perkins loan cancellation. All right, next question. I want cancellation through the IDR adjustment, but the IDR payment, even with save, is too high. What can I do? So I wanted to give you some background about this borrower before I answer the question. The borrower has both undergraduate and graduate school loans with history dating back to the late 1990s. And remember, the IDR adjustment is looking back in history up to July 1st of 1994. The borrower is currently enrolled in the extended plan. The extended plan is a fixed plan, so it doesn't qualify for PSLF and it doesn't qualify for income-driven repayment. But we also have to consider a few things. One is that we're still in this period of maximum benefit for the IDR adjustment. So until the end of this year, if this borrower stays enrolled in the extended plan, those payments are still acceptable as credit toward the IDR adjustment. But starting January 1st of 2024, payments made on the extended plan will not count because they are not on an income-driven repayment plan. In 2024, we're expecting to receive those payment counts. The payment counts will let us know how close this borrower is to that milestone of 25 years. So what the borrower decided to do was to stay on the extended plan and wait for the payment count. And once the payment count comes, they're going to decide whether to enroll in the income-driven repayment plan. What they stand to lose is credit for any payments that they make between January 1st of 2024 and whenever they decide to enroll in an income-driven repayment plan, if they decide to enroll. Given the amount of history, I think that for this borrower, it's going to be a very close call. They might have already reached or be close to reaching the 300 months. So looking at the payments, the extended plan payment was maybe like $350, whereas the income-driven repayment plan, which was based on someone who's married and filing jointly, was about 4 times as much. So we're talking about a significant difference here. They decided that given how unaffordable that income-driven plan was, they'd rather take the risk of losing credit for payments made in early 2024 and just wait until they get a payment count. And if the payment count comes back as very close to the 300, then they'll switch over to the IDR and count down until they reach that milestone. But this borrower is definitely not alone, especially for someone who's married and filing jointly. Sometimes the income-driven repayment formula produces something that just isn't realistic. So for right now, this borrower will stay on the extended plan, await their payment count, and then determine if or when they will enroll in an income-driven repayment plan to meet that milestone of 25 years. All right, next question is, my loans are with MOHELA and I want to apply for PSLF. What should I do next? This one is a heartbreaker. Access to PSLF depends on loan types. And just because MOHELA is your servicer does not mean that you are automatically going to be able to pursue public service loan forgiveness. MOHELA is the designated servicer for the PSLF program. But what we found with this particular borrower is that MOHELA also services private student loans. So for this person, their loans are serviced by MOHELA, but the loans are actually from SoFi. So at some point, the borrower refinanced with a private lender, and now that private loan is being serviced by MOHELA. If you have MOHELA for your servicer, but have never applied for PSLF and are thinking about it, or just if you want to know if your loans are federal or private, the place to go is studentaid.gov. When you log into studentaid.gov, you're going to come to a section, My Aid on the dashboard. And there's going to be like a blue circle there, a blue wheel that has a number inside of it. If there's a number inside of that blue wheel, then that means that you have federal student loans. And if you have federal student loans, then you can apply for public service loan forgiveness. But if you see no loans inside of studentaid.gov, then that means you do not have federal student loans. If you know that you have loans, but the balance is not inside of studentaid.gov, then that means that your loans are private. And unfortunately, private loans are not eligible for PSLF. All right, next question. The application for Save says it can't transfer my information. What should I do? So the application for Save is online, and this particular incident, actually, I've seen it happen 3 times inside of consolidation applications. You are asked if you want to transfer your information from the IRS, and that would be your adjusted gross income, tax filing status, and family size. And there's a time where you're waiting and it says, we're attempting to securely import your information. And after the process finished, it says we're unable to do it at this time. You have the option to upload documentation or submit a paper IDR request. All three of these times, I told the person, hit previous, go back to the previous screen, maybe one or two previous screens, and then try again. And in all 3 cases, it worked. So if you're getting that error that your information cannot be imported, try again to see if it works. I say try again because that has been working for the people that I've been helping, but also because the electronic application is faster. And I think it can be more reliable than submitting a paper request where you might skip a question and cause extra processing time. So try again. And if you can't get it, try to upload documentation. And as a last resort, submit a paper IDR request. All right, next question is I keep hearing about Plan B. Me too. Is there a new loan forgiveness program? And we mean broad forgiveness. So Plan B is in the works, but it's going to take a lot longer to come to fruition because this is not just a proposal from the president. This is going through a process called negotiated rulemaking, where there are sessions hosted with various stakeholders that are able to weigh in and work their way through to some rules or hopefully a program that will help people. Because it has to go through this process with all these stakeholders, it's not going to be, or I can say I'm confident the relief will not be as broad as the original plan put forth by the Biden-Harris administration last year. As for how long this could take, I'm not sure. The negotiated rulemaking sessions are set to end in mid-December. So that's almost 2 months away at this point. I was reading an article in USA Today, and I just pulled out this one sentence here. There's pressure to get something done before whatever the next administration is that comes in, especially if there's a change in parties. So the sentence says a final rule must be published by November 1st, 2024 for it to take effect in July of the following year. So that would put us out of July 2025 if this thing goes all the way until November of 2024, trying to get the proposal set. So no, you haven't missed out on anything. There is no new broad loan forgiveness plan. We're just watching the negotiated rulemaking sessions. There'll be one in November. There was already one in October, I think. And then there'll be another one in December. So just listen up, but know that nothing is coming very quickly in this second round. All right, our next question is about Parent Plus loans. Can I transfer Parent Plus loans into my child's name? And this one's going to be a quick answer. No, you cannot. Parent Plus loans are borrowed from the federal government and they're linked to the child, but the responsible borrower is the parent. And the federal government does not allow you to transfer ownership of a loan to another person. And the same thing is true for loans that a student takes out for their own education from the federal government. There is no way to transfer it through the federal government, at least to another borrower. Okay. Next question is about PSLF. What if the nonprofit I worked for has gone out of business? So the good thing is, if the organization that you worked for has closed, there's an option on the application called self-certifying. If you self-certify, that means that you are going to have to sign and provide proof that you worked for the organization. So proof could be usually a W-2 is the most common proof that people submit to prove that they worked for an organization. The W-2, of course, includes your earnings, but it also includes the employer ID number. And if you have that employer ID number, you could go to the IRS. They have a tool called Select Check where you can search for tax exempt organizations. And if you use that EIN, you should be able to find the organization, even if it's no longer in existence. It might show up in the IRS database as revoked, or you can see that there was some point where that 501c3 exempt tax status ran out, or like I said, was revoked. But the W-2 would contain the information that you need. That would be proof of your earnings as well as the employer ID number. So if you don't have a contact that's willing to complete the form for you, or if the organization has closed, so you don't have a contact person there that can complete the form for you, you can always select the option to self-certify. Okay, next question is about IDR. I have been in IDR for years. If I consolidate, do I have to apply for IDR again? The answer is yes. When you consolidate, your older loans are going to be paid off and a new loan is going to be originated. And whenever you have a new loan, you have to select a repayment plan for that new loan. And that would entail reapplying for IDR. The good thing is the application for income driven repayment is included within the online consolidation application. However, I did want to make note of the fact that there have been several people that I've worked with where we completed their application to consolidate. They completed the application for an income driven plan inside of the consolidation application online, and they were prompted months later to select a repayment plan because they had been enrolled in the standard plan, even after completing the IDR application within the consolidation application. So for some people, it's working. For other people, it's not working. But either way, if you consolidate, you will need to reapply for income driven repayment. Okay, next question. Back to PSLF. Is PSLF going to be around for my daughter? She's a senior in college now. Oh, I wish I had a crystal ball. So I'm going to just say that I believe PSLF will be around for a while because PSLF is different from the Biden-Harris Student Debt Relief Plan, which was something that was, led by the executive branch. It was put out there. Of course, it was contested and ultimately blocked by the Supreme Court. PSLF is not on that kind of track. PSLF is actually federal law. It was signed into law by President George W. Bush in 2007. Now, the program couldn't accept any applicants who were truly eligible for forgiveness until late 2017 because it takes 10 years for you to get those 120 qualifying payments. But in those first 4 years, we know that the program had an abysmal acceptance rate. It accepted 2%. That means 98% of applicants got rejected. Now, what President Biden did with the limited waiver, that was not law. That was something the administration put into place as a one-time adjustment. So that is something that was more risky than PSLF itself. So PSLF might go away. As of right now, it's not. It's federal law, and I really don't see Congress coming together to change it anytime soon. But it could change. But just keep in mind, it's more stable than these other, one-time adjustments because it's actually rooted in federal law. It is the law. And so it would require much more to change it. All right, next question. Do FFELP unsubsidized loans qualify for PSLF or the IDR adjustment? I can tell you that it depends. For the IDR adjustment, if the loans are held by the Department of Education, then yes, they qualify. If the loans are commercially held, then the answer is no for the IDR adjustment. Commercially held loans are not included in the IDR adjustment, but they can become eligible through consolidation. The greatest benefit would be for those who complete the consolidation application online at studentaid.gov by December 31st of this year. Now, when it comes to public service loan forgiveness, if your loans are ed held, the answer, my goodness, I think I might have messed this up. I need to backtrack. Actually, no, this is right. Okay. So for public service loan forgiveness, commercially held loans, and even Department of Education held FFELP loans do not qualify for this program. You would have to consolidate them to get them on track. So if the loans are ed held, the answer is no, but they can become eligible through consolidation. And again, that's online at studentaid.gov. If they're commercially held, same thing. The answer is no, but they can become eligible through consolidation, with the greatest benefit being for those who complete the application to consolidate on studentaid.gov by December 31st of 2023. Okay. The next question has to do with Parent Plus loans. And that question is the double consolidation loophole already closed? This question actually came up as a comment in one of our recent office hours videos. So I just wanted to share that the loophole is set to close in July of 2025. So to my knowledge, the loophole is still available. It is set to close, but it has not closed yet. One thing that has changed, though, is that if you have ever downloaded your MyAid text file from within studentaid.gov, you will get a lengthy document that tells you every single thing possible about every loan that you've ever borrowed. What has changed in this text file is the addition of this field that's highlighted here, and it says Parent Plus Consolidation Indicator. So I know that that's there because this is from a text file pulled on October 19th of 2023. And for the same borrower, earlier last year, their text file did not include this. So I know that this is different, but I have not seen anything to indicate that the double consolidation loophole is closing before July of 2025. I'm guessing that this indicator is being placed there so that once the loophole is closed, there's something to indicate within a loan's kind of coding that, yes, this stems from a Parent Plus loan. And if that Parent Plus coding still remains on the consolidation loan, then that consolidation loan would still only be eligible for income contingent repayment, which is currently the only income driven repayment plan available for people who have only Parent Plus loans. The double consolidation loophole is a way around that by consolidating in cycles. So I just wanted to share, and I say quickly, but there's really not a quick way to do this when it comes to the double consolidation loophole. But the reason why a borrower would pursue this is if they have multiple loans. You got to have at least two loans for this to work, but it would make it so that instead of only being eligible for income contingent repayment, some of the other more affordable income driven repayment plans could become accessible. And right now we are in this IDR adjustment. So it would really be great to complete any consolidation applications by December 31st so that you could get the maximum amount of credit toward the IDR adjustment. And any credit earned toward the IDR adjustment can then be applied to PSLF for all months where there's documented employment. So just to take a look at consolidation before and during the IDR adjustment. If a person had Parent Plus loans prior to the IDR adjustment and the limited waiver, and they consolidated those loans, regardless of how much repayment history they had, the consolidation loan would be starting off fresh with a new clock. So in this case, we have Parent Plus loans that were in repayment for almost 10 years. Consolidating those loans would mean that the repayment clock resets to zero. So if this person wanted to pursue public service loan forgiveness, they've got to work another 10 years, make payments for another 10 years. That made consolidation very unattractive. But during the IDR adjustment, if you take these loans and combine them together, the consolidation loan will get credit for the amount of history that's attached to the oldest loan in the portfolio. These loans have the same history. So that means once they're consolidated, the person gets credit for all 110 months. In either case, the only income-driven repayment plan available to the Parent Plus loan borrowers is ICR. And ICR has usually the worst formula. It is the least affordable repayment plan most of the time. And that means that Parent Plus loan borrowers have the most expensive payments. So what the double consolidation loophole allows a Parent Plus loan borrower to do is to take their consolidation loans, consolidate them in groups, and then consolidate them back together again. And I'm going to walk you through this step by step. And this is for someone who has Parent PLUS loans only. So for the first round of this, we're dealing with a person who has 4 Parent PLUS loans. What they would do is separate the loans into 2 groups. So I would take loan 1 and loan 2 for group A, loan 3 and loan 4 for group B. They would first apply to consolidate group A and of course apply for a repayment plan with a servicer other than their current servicer. And that's just for the first 2 loans. Then they would do the same thing for the loans in group B and apply with a different servicer other than their current servicer and other than the servicer that they select for group A. So there are a lot of servicers involved here, but the key is you want to cut the loans into groups so that they can go through one consolidation cycle before you put them all together again. So if group A's loans are consolidated and group B's loans are consolidated, then you end up with 2 consolidation loans. Direct consolidation loan 1, and I apologize for the typo. This should be direct consolidation loan 2 right here. So now we have the 4 Parent PLUS loans that have been consolidated in groups of 2. The result is 2 consolidation loans. The next cycle in this loophole process would be to take those 2 consolidation loans and consolidate them. And if PSLF is the goal, then MOHELA would be the servicer that you choose. So you would complete the application to consolidate the first consolidation loan and the second consolidation loan, into a third consolidation loan. And that is what they mean by double consolidation. You consolidate the loans the first time into 2 groups, and then you take the 2 groups and consolidate those loans into one final loan. So in this situation, we have a person who has one direct consolidation loan that has 135 months of history. The second direct consolidation loan has 200 months of history. If they apply to consolidate by December 31st of this year, those 2 loans put together would become direct consolidation loan 3, and that loan would have 200 months of history. If the person was employed for a qualifying employer for this entire time that they were in repayment, applying for PSLF would mean that all of this debt gets forgiven because they have satisfied the 120 qualifying payments. Now, with the double consolidation, because you've consolidated in these 2 rounds, it kind of removes the Parent PLUS coding of the loan until July of 2025. So like I said, to my knowledge, nothing has happened to close the loophole yet. That's something that's set to happen in July of 2025. But here's why people do this. Because if you were to consolidate these loans in the first round and just stop with those 2 consolidation loans of Parent PLUS loans, the coding is still there. If you look at the payment that's required for ICR, a borrower who is single and has no dependents with an adjusted gross income of 70 grand would expect to pay $588 per month. They would not be eligible for pay as you earn. They would not be eligible for revised pay as you earn or save. But if they take those 2 consolidation loans and consolidate again and loop all the loans into this direct consolidation loan 3, the standard plan and ICR do not change, but now there's eligibility for pay as you earn or revised pay as you earn. And if you take a look at these options, they are cheaper than ICR. They're still in the neighborhood of the standard plan, but the standard plan for consolidation does not count toward income-driven repayment, or at least it won't in the future. And it also does not count toward PSLF. So the motivation for using this loophole is to gain access to more than ICR, because ICR is typically the most expensive income-driven repayment plan available. So like I said, no knowledge of any abrupt end to the double consolidation loophole. We're expecting it to close in July of 2025. Just a couple of recommendations here. The online application to consolidate, usually it will not let you complete more than one application in a 6-month period. So for that reason, it's recommended that you use the paper application, at least for the first round of consolidation loans. So that group A and group B, that would need to be a paper application process. After those 2 loans have dispersed, then you could go online to studentaid.gov and complete the application there, or you could do another paper application. For people that only have Parent Plus loans, this only works if you have more than one loan and you complete 3 consolidation applications overall. The first set is where you split the loans into 2 groups. The second set is when you bring those 2 consolidation loans back together to be the final direct consolidation loan. Okay. Also, just a few notes about consolidating during this IDR adjustment period. The payment counts temporarily reset to 0. So if you already are on track for PSLF and then you consolidate and apply for PSLF again, your first payment count is going to look very, very low. Usually a new count comes within 3 to 6 weeks. If you were to complete the application to consolidate right now, your first consolidation loan or that set of your first consolidation loan should disperse by mid December. Normally, they say that it takes 45 to 60 days. So you would be cutting it close, to get this in and dispersed by the 12/31 date. But based on their timeline, it's still possible. As a reminder, paper application should be used for the first round. You want to make sure that you fill that application out correctly so that it does not get rejected for a clerical error. The second cycle can then be completed online, and we expect that double consolidation loophole will close after July 1st of 2025. All right, so that does it for the questions. Just want to close out with a few notes about repayment. It's here. I've made my first payment and it's almost time for payment number 2. Now that repayment is here, you want to make sure that you are aware of all your loans and all of your servicers. And you can find out all that information in one place by going online to studentaid.gov to take a look at your loans, your servicers, the repayment plan that you're enrolled in, and you can also use the loan simulator to take a look at alternatives if your current payment is not affordable or if it's not going to keep you on track for IDR cancellation or public service loan forgiveness. You want to make sure that your information is up to date in terms of your address, email address, and communication preferences. If you're looking for accountability, if you're having issues with your servicer that you have not been able to resolve with the servicer after, multiple attempts, I would encourage you to reach out to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau at consumerfinance.gov. You can submit a complaint. You can also visit the U.S. Department of Education Ombudsman to check and see if your concern falls under their purview. They do have a special type of request for PSLF reconsideration if you have an account that looks really low, or if there are records missing, or if there's something related to PSLF, you can definitely complete a reconsideration request to get your application evaluated again. For the state of Maryland, we actually have a student loan ombudsman that can assist borrowers who are having problems with their servicers. And the types of problems they deal with can include failure by the servicer to communicate with the borrower, errors in crediting principal and interest payments, misapplied payments, inaccurate interest rate calculations, billing errors, loan consolidations or modifications errors, and or inappropriate collection activity or tactics. If you are a Marylander and you're currently in repayment and you have a complaint about your servicer, you can visit the Maryland Student Loan Ombudsman online to file a complaint. And you can also take a look at the Maryland Student Loan Borrowers Bill of Rights to learn more about the protections to which Maryland borrowers are entitled and the obligations of student loan servicers. And those links are in the chat. So I know that was a lot in about 45 minutes. And I want to say, please pardon our tardiness. I was experiencing some technical difficulties at the top of the hour, but I'm glad we were able to make it through all of our questions, just going a little bit over the 8 o'clock mark. So if you have a question that comes up after the broadcast, please do reach out to us at mccfw.org/contact. There's a contact form that you can complete and we'll make sure that we get back to you. You can also visit us online at mccfw.org and you can connect with us on social media. We are on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, aka X, and Facebook as at the MCCFW. You can also find me. I'm at Tisa Silver on social media and Dr. Tisa Silver Kennedy on Facebook. And I want to just share that we also have a new development. We've launched a podcast called the Crest Podcast, and the first episode actually dropped today, Wednesday, October 25th. And you can go to our website at mccfw.org/podcast, and you'll be able to listen to the first episode where I had the chance to interview Dr. Kia Brown, who is the Associate Director of Scholarships at the University of Maryland College Park. We were able to talk about scholarships, social media, and student empowerment, and had a really good conversation. So again, you can listen to that episode by going to mccfw.org/podcast. Now, I've been taking a look at the chat all throughout. I did not see any questions come up. And as you know, we had quite a few that I answered during the broadcast. If you do have questions, again, in between broadcasts of office hours, please do utilize that contact form. That helps us keep up with borrowers' concerns in real time and make sure that we are providing helpful information to answer your questions. So I'm going to take one more look at the chat. And if there are no other questions, oh, I saw comment, great work and helpful information. Thank you so much for chiming in, Ms. Simmons. And we also had a comment from Calandra Jackson. Calandra Jackson. Huge gratitude to you. Loans forgiven. Hallelujah. Bless you. Thank you so very much. I'm so happy for you, Calandra. It was a pleasure to be a part of your journey. I'm so glad that PSLF worked out for you because you have put in the time and it was your time to get that benefit. So congratulations to you and thank you for all of those blessings. I extend them right back at you. All right, I'm going to check for any other comments or questions, and I see none. So I'm going to go ahead and conclude this evening's broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Office Hours. This was the October 25th edition. We will be back in 2 weeks, which puts us at, I'm looking at my calendar, the evening of November the 8th. So I will look forward to seeing you all again in a couple of weeks. And as always, be well.